People who get bright light before 10 a.m. weigh on average 1.5 BMI points less than people who don't. And this has nothing to do with exercise or vitamin D.
Wait, just being outside in the morning makes you thinner?
It's not even about being outside, it's about what light does to your brain's master clock. And when that clock is off, everything downstream breaks. Your hunger hormones, your insulin sensitivity, your ability to burn fat. All of it.
That sounds like a huge deal. How strong is the evidence?
A Northwestern University study tracked 54 people with wrist sensors that measured their light exposure every 2 minutes for a full week. They found that for every hour later, your bright light exposure shifted. BMI went up by 1.28 points. And this held true even after they controlled for how much people ate, how much they slept, and how active they were.
So it's not that morning people just happen to eat better?
That's exactly what makes this study important. They isolated the light variable, calories, sleep duration, activity levels. None of those explained the effect. It was the timing of light exposure specifically.
But why? What is light actually doing inside the body?
So there's this tiny cluster of about 20,000 neurons sitting right above where your optic nerves cross. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. Think of it as your body's master clock.
Only 20,000 neurons? That's tiny compared to the whole brain.
Tiny, but incredibly powerful. This little cluster controls the timing of virtually every biological process in your body. When you eat, when you sleep, when your hormones rise and fall, when your body temperature shifts, all synchronized by this one structure. And the primary signal it uses to calibrate itself? Light entering your eyes.
So if the clock doesn't get the right light signal,
Everything drifts. And here's what's wild. We're not talking about visible alertness or feeling awake. You can feel perfectly fine while your circadian clock is completely miscalibrated. The damage happens silently.
that's unsettling. So what happens specifically to metabolism?
Let's start with the cortisol awakening response. This is one of the most important metabolic events that most people have never heard of.
Cortisol? Isn't that the stress hormone?
That's its reputation, but it's way more nuanced than that. In the morning, your cortisol is supposed to spike. It should increase by about 50% within 30 minutes of waking up. This morning spike is actually healthy. It kickstarts your metabolism, primes your immune system, and gives you the alertness and focus you need for the day.
So you actually want high cortisol in the morning?
Absolutely. The problem isn't cortisol itself, it's cortisol at the wrong time. Morning sunlight triggers this spike. Without it, the spike is blunted, and you start the day in a metabolic fog.
And what does a blunted cortisol spike actually do to metabolism?
Several things. Your body becomes less efficient at mobilizing stored energy, your appetite regulation gets thrown off. Specifically, the hormones leptin and ghrelin start misbehaving.
Those are the hunger hormones, right?
Exactly. Leptin tells your brain you're full. Ghrelin tells your brain you're hungry. When your circadian rhythm is properly calibrated by morning light, these two work in a beautiful balance. But when the clock drifts, ghrelin stays elevated longer than it should, and leptin's signal gets weaker. You literally feel hungrier than you should be, and you feel less satisfied after eating.
So you'd overeat without even realizing it?
That's the insidious part. It doesn't feel like a willpower failure. It feels like genuine hunger because the hormonal signals are genuinely disrupted.
Okay, so we have cortisol and hunger hormones. What else?
Insulin sensitivity. This is arguably the biggest piece of the puzzle. Your cell's ability to respond to insulin, to absorb glucose from your blood, follows a strict circadian pattern. You are most insulin sensitive in the morning and least insulin sensitive at night. This is built into your biology. When you eat the same meal at 8 a.m. versus 8 p.m., your blood sugar response is dramatically different.
How dramatic are we talking?
Studies show glucose tolerance can be up to 17% worse in the evening compared to the morning. Same food, same person, completely different metabolic response.
That's wild. So a midnight snack is literally metabolically worse than the same food for breakfast.
Significantly worse. And here's where light exposure ties in. When your circadian clock is off, that insulin sensitivity pattern shifts too. If you're not getting morning light, your body's peak insulin sensitivity may be delayed or blunted entirely. You're essentially metabolizing food as if it's always evening.
That's terrifying for anyone who works night shifts.
Night shift workers have some of the highest rates of metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. And circadian disruption from abnormal light exposure is a major contributing factor. One study found that just 3 days of circadian misalignment reduced insulin sensitivity by 30%.
3 days.
3 days. Your body is exquisitely sensitive to these timing signals.
Okay, so we've covered how morning light helps, but what about light at the wrong time? What does blue light at night actually do?
Evening light exposure, especially blue-enriched light from screens, suppresses melatonin production. Most people know that affects sleep, but what's less known is that melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It's deeply involved in metabolic regulation.
Melatonin affects metabolism?
Directly. Melatonin helps regulate insulin secretion from the pancreas. When you suppress melatonin with evening light, you're impairing your pancreas's ability to manage blood sugar overnight, and the body does critical metabolic housekeeping during sleep. Fat oxidation, growth hormone release, cellular repair, disrupt that with suppressed melatonin, and you're undermining the processes that keep you metabolically healthy.
So it's a double hit morning light you're not getting plus evening light you shouldn't be getting.
Exactly. Modern life is perfectly designed to do both. We spend our mornings inside under dim artificial light that's 50 to 100 times dimmer than outdoor light. Then we spend our evenings staring at bright screens.
We've basically inverted the natural light pattern.
completely inverted, and our metabolism is paying the price.
So, what should people actually do about this? What's the practical protocol?
The most important intervention is staggeringly simple. Get outside within the first hour of waking and expose your eyes to bright light for about 10 minutes. On a clear day, even overcast days provide enough. Outdoor light is roughly 10,000 to 100,000 lux, while indoor lighting is typically 100 to 500 lux.
You don't need a special lamp.
For most people, no, just go outside. But if you live somewhere with dark winters or you wake before sunrise, a 10,000 lux light therapy lamp positioned at eye level for 20 to 30 minutes can substitute.
Do you need to stare at the sun?
Absolutely not. You just need bright ambient light reaching your retinas. Look toward the sky, not directly at the sun. The photoreceptors that communicate with your circadian clock, they're called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. They respond to brightness, particularly blue wavelengths, across your entire visual field.
And what about the evening side?
After sunset, minimize bright light exposure, especially blue light. Dim your screens, use night mode, or even better, switch to warm, dim ambient lighting. Some people use blue blocking glasses, and there's evidence that blocking blue light in the evening can improve insulin resistance.
How quickly do people notice changes?
The cortisol awakening response can shift within days. Sleep quality improvements often show up within a week. The metabolic benefits, improved insulin sensitivity, appetite regulation, those build over 2 to 4 weeks.
And the weight changes?
The Northwestern study showed the correlation cross-sectionally, but intervention studies with morning bright light in obese women showed reduced body fat in as little as 3 weeks. This isn't a 6-month commitment before you see results.
3 weeks? That's fast for something so simple.
And free sunlight costs nothing. That's what makes this such a powerful intervention. The barrier to entry is essentially zero.
Let me make sure I'm getting the full picture. Morning light calibrates the master clock. It controls cortisol timing, hunger hormones, insulin sensitivity, and metabolic efficiency. Evening light disrupts melatonin, which impairs overnight metabolic processes. And modern life has flipped both of these.
That's exactly it. And the beautiful thing is that fixing it doesn't require any special equipment, supplements, or complicated protocols. 10 minutes of morning light and dimming your environment at night, 2 simple changes that realign an entire cascade of metabolic processes.
It's wild that something so basic could have such a big impact.
Sometimes the most powerful health interventions are the most obvious ones we've stopped doing. Humans evolved under natural light-dark cycles for millions of years. We've only been living under artificial light for about 150 years. Our biology hasn't caught up.
Your body still thinks it's supposed to wake up with the sun.
And when you give it that signal, everything downstream works better. Your metabolism isn't broken, it's just waiting for the right cue.